Good morning, everyone. So about a couple years ago, I moved to Morocco to begin my Peace Corps service. And I landed in a little oasis in the Sahara Desert. Now, after a couple months of heat and sandstorms and trying really, really hard to learn to speak Berber, I got a bit restless. So one day, I took a look at the rock walls around me. I picked a route that I thought I could climb. I strapped on my camelback, and I set off. 2 hours later, I reached the top of the valley cliff, and I sat down in the shade to gaze back at my village. I was very tired. And I looked over my shoulder, and this is what I saw. And I remember thinking, I think those rocks are stacked on purpose. So I got up to explore, and this is what I found. I found the ruins of a village. As I walked around, the village came to life. I saw houses and courtyards. I found mortar holes for grinding grain, and this really awesome tower, which I'm pretty sure at one point was a mosque. All of this was perched way high above the valley. And I was so excited. I thought I had just discovered history. So I ran home to my host sister, Aisha, who, if you can't tell, is about 5 foot nothing, real round. Love this woman. And I told her, I said, I found an old village up on top of the mountain. And she, was not surprised at all. She looked at me, she's like, yeah, I know. We used to live there. It's like, what? Who used to live there? She's like, we, the village. We all used to live there. I'm like, when was this? Like, last year? What's going on? And she said, no. She threw her hand over her shoulder, and she said, Minshka, which means a really long time ago. Huh, interesting. And over lunch that day, she told me that back then, there used to be trees up there. There used to be rivers. There used to be fields. She said that back then, the oasis had been so big that it filled the whole valley. She said boars and jaguars used to live in it. Now, I continued to hike to the ruins for the next couple years that I lived with Aisha. And I realized that my community had essentially gone about exhausting all their natural resources, to the point where today, the richest man in town, the sheikh, owns one very thin cow. Now, this was a big turning point in my life. I literally saw that resources are finite. I grew up in California. I grew up thinking that the world around me was lush and pristine. I used to spearfish for the biggest lobsters I could find. I used to kiss whales. What Morocco gave me was a broader perspective. I began to look around and see the world as a part of a larger story. For example, when I got back from Morocco, I was living at home in San Diego, California, working as a scuba dive master. Now, one day, I went on a dive in the kelp beds off of beautiful La Jolla Cove. And on that dive, I saw a 7-gill shark. He was pretty big, too. I remember looking over at him and thinking, yep, you wanted to, you could eat me. Now, sighting that shark made the news that night. And on the surface, it sounds like just a really cool experience. But 50 years ago, there were so many sharks in San Diego that fishermen used to catch them using big trawl nets. The idea that one would have made the news just for being sighted would have been laughable. Just last week, I went on a dive here in Monterey at Lover's Point. Now, it was a beautiful day. The sun was out. Water was like glass on the surface, super calm. The visibility was great. There was a seal who followed us through most of the dive, being playful and nipping at our fins. But in 45 minutes, the number of fish I saw, I can count on 2 hands. And this is Monterey. This is the home of Cannery Row and the historic sardine industry. So I'm not saying that change is bad, but this much change can't be good. And what I don't want is for someone somewhere in the future to point to my home and to say what Aisha said to me. We used to live there. There used to be fish in the sea. There used to be whales, and there used to be sharks. And there used to be trees, and there used to be streams. There used to be.